All right, all you day trading devils out there, I'm back with what I think will be a relatively brief video here, just to kind of highlight some of the tweaks and a few new features that we've built into our volume profile indicator, and just a general review as to why we think this is the most advanced volume profile indicator that's available on the Ninja platform. So let's just dive right into it. So you'll note here I've got a gold. This is a Feb gold contract here on a 30-minute profile. This is often what I will use when I'm looking at a slightly higher time frame for volume profile. These are just default settings. Now, of course, like most of our indicators, there's a drop down here where we can get to pretty much anything you would want to need, that you would want to tweak or that you would need to fuss with here. So let's just quickly review here. So on off, right? That's pretty simple. The profile here. Now, by default, if I'm looking at something 30-minute and above, I will almost always start with a weekly profile, as you'll note here. Now, we've added one new feature that you'll see here. We've given you the capability, because we had a few people asking for this. Personally, I don't know why you would ever do this, but if somebody wanted to set something up to get a volume profile every X number of bars, again, that's kind of a specialty application, but by request, we've added that. So if you wanted to make a new profile every, I don't know, 15 bars, right? You certainly could do that here. So that's a new feature that we've added. All bars, that's going to give you everything that's on your chart. Every X we just looked at. Custom, it's similar to X in that you could, if you wanted to, perhaps you're looking at an ETH session, but you wanted to just profile the RTH session, well, you could set that up in a custom session, right? I hope you follow me there. So we could be looking at the full ETH, extended trading hours chart, and apply the volume profile to just the RTH session, right? That's not uncommon for people to do it. So that's an option for you. We've got a monthly as well. If you're looking at something higher, maybe you're looking at a daily, you might want to go to a monthly profile. Visible range, that's just as it says, and then a fixed interval. If you wanted something, these would be very specific applications. If you wanted a fixed interval, again, these are non-traditional applications, but by request we've added them, so you've got a lot of flexibility here. So well, let's just stay with our weekly here on a 30-minute. I think this is a very good way, right, to get a look at where you potentially, right, what's the idea here, support and resistance, to guide us a little bit. So let's just quickly go over what we're looking at on the chart here now. Just again, some of this is stylistic here. So okay, so here by default here, I think we'll come into mono. I go back and forth. Heat map's kind of nice, right? The only difference is here the brighter red versus the cooler blue, where we know where there's more volume. It can be useful to draw your eye to where the highest volume is. It's not like you can't see it, right? But that's, some people prefer it. I kind of go back and forth, but by default, I typically will have mono. That's just personal preference. You could do buy sell, right? If you want to do that, you could do delta, right? Where's the aggression? Both of them. If you want to get volume and delta, again, that's kind of personal preference. Let's come back here. I think I'm pretty effective just with mono on, but again, right, it's up to you. Current profile. This is left right, so I have everything on the left. Often, depending on what I'm doing or if I'm splitting profiles, I may want the very last one to be on the right. Right, so trading on the right edge here, so I can see that. Because if it's on the left, sometimes that can be a little tricky. Oh, where'd we go here? If I'm doing some splitting here, this is just going to go to the start of the day. Again, that's just kind of a personal preference. Let's go ahead and put that on the right. Labels and locations. Do you want them left or right side? Again, personal preference. Where'd we go here? Do we want to show price and label, or just price or just label, right? Again, pretty self-explanatory. Do you want to extend the lines? I would encourage you to do that. And then show volume. Text here, again, do you want to see? So for example, I could say total volume, right? So show me the total volume. I could say show me the delta, or I could say show me delta and show me all of it, right? In that summary. Again, personal preference there. Again, there might be a specific reason you're looking for that. Let me get back here to where I was. Okay, and then by default now the extend lines is on, so that you don't miss that's an option, because that's I think you'll find that will add value as you're determining where the support and resistance is. let's see, previous profiles, again, by default now, by default extend will be on. You have some choices here as well, left, right, where do you want those same choices that you had previously. Extend for a number of days or until tested. It's up to you. These are the same choices there on previous profile. Let's go back here. Until tested is not a bad thought. You could do just, if you just wanted to do, maybe 5 days, just extend it, right? Again, it's this sort of a personal preference as to what you're trying to do. I'm going to turn the IB off here because on a 30-minute. All right, so here now you can see we're extending from all the prior profiles here. I guess I'm going back to the 28th. So I'm extending the value area lows, the value area high. Here's the value area low from the prior day. Oh, I think I'm just limited on number of days due to the length that we've had this contract. So those are worthwhile to extend. I would encourage you to do that because, right, so you see a nice example here where the value area low seem to come into play here as we come to this level here. Again, the idea is support and resistance. You see here's the VWAP as resistance. Again, most I think will be relatively familiar with the value that a volume profile offers to you. But so again, this is a bit of a review and not so much. We're not going to do a detailed application, and we're just kind of going through these features again. So let me carry on here with where we are now. This previous profiles, right? So again, it's pretty self-explanatory here. This is just, again, these are personal preference, but by default, just a reminder that will start on, right? You have to change it if you want to. Now, high and low volume nodes, I would tell you that these are substantial and important, and one of the things that distinguishes this volume profile. So, of course, high profile, right? That's going to be fairly obvious to see based on with the volume profile. But a low volume node to have that extended, I think that can be quite effective. Now we can do just a session, or we could do it just indefinitely going forward. I prefer to keep it on forward because I want to see those. Oh, let's see here. So I have these color coded here, where a high volume is a gold and a low volume is a white here. Oh, let me brighten those up a little bit. Okay, here I just brighten them up a little bit so they're easier to spot. Now these are significant, and the point is to draw your eye to these, whether it's a high volume or a low volume node. Again, high volume is hard to miss, right? Because you're going to see it in the profile, but it's easy to miss it, right? If you're over here, the point is not to miss it, right? So when I come to the drop-down menu here, I like to keep them both on. Extend for a number of days. I keep them at 4 or 5, right? Again, I don't want to miss something. Again, this is personal preference here. So if I do forward here and forward, these are going to extend. Now, some people might look at that and go, God, that's a lot of lines. If it's too many for you, right? You pull it back or make it just for one day. Again, the idea is you don't want to miss them. So you see, there's a couple. Find a decent example here currently. Let me pop this up here. So here, here's a nice example here. You might not see it just at first glance, right? Here, I've got low volume here. It's extending from the prior days, and we bring this all the way out here, and it's low volume out here. So you see that right there. I can't miss that here. I know that the market has not found acceptance. It's either pinged off of it, come close to it, but we haven't found acceptance there. So this is an area I would want to be paying attention to. And it's just kind of standard stuff here you might look at. Well, here's a pivot, right? So are we sweeping liquidity here up at this high at a low volume node? Well, that's a hard trade to take short because the market's screaming from the low volume nodes that we have down here, which we doubled on, bottom, right? Did we get a triple here? But from this, we're coming all the way up to the high volume node here, right? Almost, very small little retrace in the midst of it. So it's a hard trade to take. Now, what makes that a little bit easier to take? Now, that's, of course, close to the end of the day. So maybe not the most ideal example, but with like anything, in trading here, when you're looking at something like this to guide you towards the idea that there's potentially here we've got some resistance because the market has not found acceptance. Well, is that enough by itself? Could be. Of course, you might include into that some sort of a measured move or fib swing or some sort of retracement or something so it's not just the low volume node, right? I always want to look for some sort of confluence if I can. So it could be something as simple as, okay, we've got a channel that's gone up here. It's got a couple of little fib extensions on it here. So as we start to break down, that could be part of what's drawing your eye to that. Oh, could be. Let's see. Do I have them on here? No, I don't. Could be a fib. Maybe we're pulling from this high to this low, right? Golden zone as we wick into that low profile mode. Here we can see it's to the tick, right, to the 65. We don't get the target, so you got a few things working on both sides here. So if I get right there. So here's 50, 50. Now note, again, just for some rough examples here, and here I said we weren't going to get into a lot of application, but here's the value area low right here at this 50. How many times do we hit that? 1, 2, right? So when it's right here and you're thinking, oh my God, it's going down. Well, you've got a low volume node there. There has not been acceptance, and you've got the prior profiles value area low right there. So that can be the kind of thing which I'm trying to encourage you to consider, right? We've got pretty good confluence there, right? We got multiple technical events that might suggest, or maybe you're not sitting there with a limit order, but maybe as you see that reaction there, again, it's a 30-minute chart, right? So that's the move from one area to the next is pretty substantial, right? That's $1,400. Right? So keep that in mind. But this is, again, just kind of ideas about how you would want to apply this and use it. And just for general guidance is where you're likely to find support and resistance. Okay, so let me clear some of this off of here, and let me just continue to work through some of the features. Now, this is, you'll note, right, again, with the 30-minute, I've got a weekly on. Well, I don't have to sit with a weekly. I could certainly come down and go to just go to a daily session. I could get a little more crowded. As a result of that, that's where the auto splitting can be really effective. So here, this will take a second because I added another 15 days of data. Okay, so let's bring this back here. So now I've got the daily session here. Let me get my drawings off of here. So and I've got the dailies. Now, okay, gets a little more crowded. Now these are full. This is a volume profile for the full session. This is just for variety here. Let's switch over to the heat map. Just to show for demonstration. So we see here's the value area, and I probably went a little too fast here just to be sure that you see this. These two bars here that are at the left of the volume profile, those are significant. The yellow bar, right, highlighted, is giving you a visual representation of the value area of that, in this case, of the day. The blue line, that's the TPO, the market profile, right? So the volume profile is giving you volume at price. Market profile is giving you time at price, right? So the value is there for both, right? It's kind of nice to be able to see where did it spend the majority of the time and where was the most amount of trading volume taking place, so thus volume profile. So we're giving you a little bit of a combo there. Now you can, with that here built into this, we can show not only the volume profile outline, right, if that helps you just get a little visual representation of the high and low volume nodes, but you can do the same thing with the TPO, right? So you get where did we spend the most amount of time? So here the value area, you can kind of see it there. Well, so the outline here, so we see where did it spend the majority of the time. So the time here would be the POC of the TPO. Time price opportunity. Where do we spend the majority of the amount of time was right at this section here, right? So as we come back to it at the end of the day, maybe that's something to keep in mind, right? Maybe not, right? Just showing you that it's in there right now. I typically will turn those off because I guess it's just personal preference how you like to see it. Now let me keep going here. So we've been over the high and the low volume nodes. These are very important here. I would if you're not going to do low volume or high volume, pick one or the other. But if I had to pick one or the other, I would just do low volume because I want to see where do we not have acceptance, right? Often the market will either, well, it's telling me one thing, right? So if we don't have acceptance there, I might expect the market to reject there, or it's just going to, if it's going through it, it's going to go through it without any resistance. So, you see here, it's kind of a decent little bit of, exchange here between low volume, and the market we don't have acceptance here, right? So down we come. And where do we go? To another low volume node here at the low here, which ends up being the value area low. Remember, this is the current day, so there's your value area in yellow. Right now, that can, you got to be, you got to kind of pay attention to that. Maybe it's easier to follow it over here, so I can see that's the value area here, and that's reflected in the volume profile. Okay, so with that, let me keep going here, so I don't go too long on this video. So much for trying to keep it short. Okay, hang on one second. Okay, working on the list here, one of the most powerful, and it's totally unique to this as far as I know, this is only available in our product, is the auto splitting. So essentially what it's doing, to avoid, something like this, to avoid a double distribution, or in this case we might have 1, 2, 3. There's really 4 distributions here on this massive sell-off day. I think that's the Fed day. Well, we have this massive sell-off. What it's going to do is it's going to split those profiles, because what we want is either P's, B's, or D's, right? So what it's trying to avoid is multiple distributions like this. So if I just go into the auto splitting and turn it on, these are, this would be a good place to start. There's no reason to fuss with those. Now it's going to take a second because it's got to crunch a lot of numbers here. Let's let that play here. I'll hold. Okay, so now it's gone through all of that. I think I've got now 45 days of data. Oh, just to make this a little bit so you can follow this part. Let me get the high volume nodes. Let me turn those off. All right. So, okay, and actually just, since we're doing this previous profiles, let's not extend. Okay, so now we can just focus in on what we're looking at here. So we can just go over to the hard right edge. Oh, for this demonstration here, let's put the current profile, let's put that back on the left, right? So it should make more sense. Okay, so what you see here now, so we can look at, this is, this lower volume here this time of year, but this is a decent example, right? That big sell-off. So on that same day, right? So we start with this profile in the extended hours here, the Asia session. Then so we get a nice, in this case, we get a nice D type of profile here. Here we get kind of a B. Here we get another D. Now here, this is just a free fall here. So what it's doing here is it's splitting. So it's taking the day and splitting it into 4 profiles, right? So you're focusing on, this is so dramatic and it's really detached from this prior price action. So it's splitting it up into 4 separate profiles over the course of that day. The next day here we get a P and then we get a B down here. So you're getting two very different profiles here over the course of the full trading hours. So I get a nice P up here and a B over here, but the point being here, by separating that, here's the market is just opening here. Here's the overnight, right? So we have all of this that's happened, relative to the amount of time that they trade. The RTH is very small relative to the full trading session. So as a result of that, here market hasn't even opened yet, right? And we've got a split here. So this is a good example of making a clear distinction between the 2 profiles that occur during the entire ETH session. It's kind of the same thing here. I start with a nice D profile here, and then I end up with a big P profile here, right? So as we come back into this, and here's a decent example, you can see the market coming back to, here, remember, yellow is the value area. We're coming back into that value area as we launch. Now, if I were to extend this, coming over this direction here, you see the value of extending, right? So where do we find support? All right, as I bring this over here, right? This value area being tapped right here. Well, note, right? It comes right to the edge of it, right? And we pop. And then we pop from there, and then values going higher, higher, higher. The other thing you can do is just visually look at those yellow. Look at those yellow blocks. Are we going sideways? Are we going higher? Right. Often what will happen is the market will find value, right? So you can see here the market finds acceptance up here. Good. Oh no, we got to revalue where the market is finding acceptance, and now it's all much lower. So these things extending like this can be really valuable here as you. Let's see here if we had anything fib related that might guide us here. We get right on that pivot. Just using something simple, right? Well, Here's the 50, here's the golden zone, so coming right into the edge. Well, you might look there and say, oh, geez, it's not quite the 50, it's not quite the golden zone. Why is it not getting there? Why are we stuck in the middle? Well, could it be the value area high from this profile? Sure seems like it. Right? Sure seems like it might be something related to that, and you can kind of see this, that's something you'll see over and over again. Oh, let's see if I can find something. I guess we get rid of this one, kind of making that point. Well, a lot of this is you need to visually see it, work with it, trade with it, get used to how the market responds as we move in and out of these value areas, and then how they can provide support and resistance. And I can show you examples all day long, but really you've got to look at it and follow it yourself, right? See the value. Rather than us just go, oh, well, if it hits the value area low, consider being a buyer. Well, again, maybe not by itself. If there's something else there to suggest it, you might look here. I know this is a little bit hard to see, but you see the high volume node, this right there. So the market's testing there. That looks like that might be some sort of a fib related pivot as we get here, and lo and behold, there's a golden zone, right? So that's the example I show you of confluence here. Okay, I got a high volume node. I've come just under the value area of this profile, of this nice P profile. I've come right down to the edge. Here I got a little high volume node here. So if I were extending high volume nodes, likely here we're going to see something, right? So you can see, well, it's actually high volume from over here is coming back into this, and then we hit this golden zone, and we go here. Here's the target, which it gets to easily. Oh, can I get that out of there? I might not. Well, here, let's do it this way. Got to get you out of there, right? Sometimes a little tricky with Ninja. But now you see all these high volume nodes, right? Now, that can be too much, right? Some people look at that and say, oh my God, well, of course it's going to hit one of them. Well, of course, you may not want all of those, right? You might say, okay, for high volume nodes, let's reduce the count, right? Maybe we'll go to 2. Still effective here. Still effective here. I would encourage you to work back and forth between high volume and low volume. Let's take those off. Now let's put low volume on. Oh, maybe that's too many. Let's go to low volume, and let's take that down to maybe. Oh, let's go to 2. 2. I'm just mouse wheel will do that for you. Okay, so here I'm coming up here where I've got no acceptance. How? Whoa, rejected hard. I think the best examples are right here. Again, this is the kind of thing you would want to work through. Most of you will know all of our products are available for a 7-day free trial. If you're not using Volume Profile, or if you're not happy with whatever you're using, maybe you got the native Ninja and this idea of volume splitting and high and low volume nodes being extended so that you don't miss them. Perhaps a trial, 7-day trial. Work with it for a week, so you have 5 full trading days, and see if you derive some value from it. That's why we do the trials, so that you don't have to go, well, it looks good, right? You test it yourself with your own setup, with your own applications. Maybe you don't like a 30-minute. Maybe you like a 4-hour, right? So 4-hour, you're likely going to want to put on a weekly. And then I would encourage you to look between a split and a non-split and see which one gives you the more value. So you see here, the market is just not, there's no acceptance up here. So we get that giant wick. Now, again, that's a 30-minute candle. That's a giant wick, but, perhaps that's... Well, again, ideally, there's something more than just a low volume node, right? I would want to see something more than that. Well, we can look right here and just, speaking of more, here's the low of the prior value area, right? I don't know if you can see that. Maybe it's easier if I do it this way. Right, so if I put it right here, so here's the previous value area high, here's the value area low. When we retrace, we're coming right into the intersection of those two. So maybe that's enough for you to consider a trade. Maybe, right, you're now looking, you go to a much smaller time frame and look there. So let's do that. Let's go to a smaller time frame, and let me try and get out of here so this doesn't run too long. I'm probably too long already, but let's bring down, here's a 233 that you might be using more for your entries. Again, I've got this set for daily session. I have the high and low volume nodes on. Let's turn that off. Let's turn those off. I have auto splitting on. Let's turn that off. Okay, so this is just the last week of we're going through December 27th. So markets were, of course we have lower volume, but there's plenty of volatility. I mean, plenty of volatility. So let's see, I think I've got about 14 days on this. Okay, again, same idea. Now, look here on this kind of a day, massive uptrend, right? So the profile is, there's so much to it, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 distributions. Again, here, perhaps a double distribution, but you end up with a nice B profile here. Here, is it a P profile? Well, it's just there's too much into it. There's too much there, right? That's the value of the split. So let's go right to that, because I would encourage you, that's one of the huge benefits of this product, to take advantage of the splitting. Now, again, it has to crunch a lot of numbers. So here we go. That was relatively quick on this one. Now 233, I mean that's not bad, right? So sometimes gold will be higher than that, but again, because this is holiday trading, right? That was the tick count was relatively low. Here's stuff I was drawing on the prior on the higher time frame. It just I have it set to show on all the charts. So here's the split. Okay, so we come into this day, and we can just use the last day, right? So this big downdraft here, huge downdraft. Well, here's 9th. The market has just opened. Oh, here I think I've got IB on this. So let's get all of this. We want the IB, right? Just to reduce some of the lines in here. So we'll just have the initial balance, right? So we'll have the open on this. Oh, I mean, again, it's a good representation of how tiny the actual RTH session is relative to the 24 hours of trading. So this entire down move here is happening. It's just here's the open right here, right? So we're getting all of this is happening overnight. So this big profile is shaping here when we get to, if you were to look here in the auto splitting, when we get to a shape threshold of 60% with a minimum time of 15 and a minimum value of 10% of that total volume, right? At that threshold, it's going to split. So I get a second at the end of the day. I get a second split here. So this is, just about noon. So for the end of the day, I get another value area here down to the value area high. We get kind of high up here. Again, it's kind of the idea that you might be looking for. Okay, so I have this high volume node over here. Right, so from here, rejected. So support, resistance, resistance. Right. So now again, it's easy in hindsight, right, to draw that over there. But of course, they'll be there because if you turned on high volume nodes here. Oh, let's extend them. Here we go. Well, I guess it's not high enough to call it high volume here, right? Per that split here. So here the higher volume is down here. This one, these are, if you look here, these are slightly higher. So let's see if I can get them all in there. Oh, high volume nodes. Let's extend these forward. Now that can be too much, right? I've got a lot of days on there. Let me back up here. Oh, let's take this down. That's probably good there. Region side. Let's go to 2. Well, again, it's not quite high enough, but certainly visually, I can see that it's a high volume node. Right? These are slightly higher. Right? If you look here, these are just high enough. So those, if I'm telling it, put only the three highest volume nodes on here. Well, they're all going to be down here at the low. Same thing here. But visually, I can see there's a high volume node here. Right, so as we come over here, right, I know that potentially, right, and then I've got the volume area high up here. So we don't make the volume area high of the prior profile. Right, that's a good example here of support becoming resistance, and then resistance again at the end of the day. Okay, hopefully that makes sense as to how you're going to take advantage of some of this stuff. TPO profiles, again, do you want to see where to spend the most amount of time? Again, it's personal preference whether you want those on. Session dividers, right? It's up to you whether you want that on. Profile summary, this is part of the new features here we've added so that you have the option to show total volume and the range here. So we see the range and the total volume. That's a new feature that was added. The range and total volume, it might be some reason that you would like to see that. Again, it's by request, so we will accommodate that when people are requesting it. Here I've got all the high volume here is down here at the low, and then where do we end the day? Up here, right, where we don't have that same amount of volume. Now the thing is, I was mentioning previously here, and I'll end here, with seeing these high and low volume nodes here. Now, again, you're always looking for a bit of confluence. So let me just for a demonstration here to show you this. Gold is particularly reactive to the measured move algo. So if I turn these back on, you'll see what I mean. Again, there's no particular magic to 233, right? It's just based on the tick volume here. We have a tick volume calculator, so it'll get you an estimate based on a 1 minute chart as to what the tick volume is doing, right? And it was actually kind of low this week. It was often stayed below 233, but that's a go-to for gold that I would use here, and because I know how responsive it is to these measured moves, right? So anytime you see a cluster like this, so you can see here, we call this a Lincoln top hat, right? Where we've got just this huge collection of measured move algos responding here. So as we come up into this, okay, well, again, just looking for confluence here. I've got the prior day's value area low, right? Remember, low high is the red bar here. Pardon me, I should say the split that took place during that day, because this is not the full day, right? Because I have split turned on. So here's of that section. So if I go to the value area low and I start to connect some of this, what I'm seeing here. So here's value area low. Here's value area low of this profile. Now I come all the way over here and I connect these two. That should make that trade a little bit easier to take, because what's happening, the market's going straight up, right? Oh, yikes, I can't sell that. Well, maybe, right? So that's a little bit too much, right? But if you can't sell that one, the one that you can sell with a little bit more conviction here is we start to react. Then there's the little pullback. Note again, it's right in the spot in the pocket between the 50 and the golden zone. Well, there's the target, right? It ends up coming back down here to this high volume node. What happens next? To the next golden zone. Here's all the clusters of targets. Where's that? VWAP. We get another retrace. What's that? The 50, right? Another high volume node. Here's the target. Whoa, where is that target? That target is down here. On the way, we bump into a 50 from here. Bounce, we come into another golden zone. Where's that target? Down here. We get that target. What do? Bounce up. We're running into prior resistance here. Back down. Here's another golden zone. Where do we go? Here's the target. That's a 50. No man's land here, right? I could just do this all day. No man's. You see how responsive this is, right? I could just go back here. 1, 2, both targets hit. Again, that's for another video, or you can go over to look at the measured move algo and demonstrate that. That's one of the. Again, thank you, David Halsey, for delivering that to traders, right? So we understand that that's an algo that's very active in all markets at all time frames, right? We've been teaching you that for the last 6 years. But just because we've been teaching it for 6 years, it's not like, oh God, I got to get to the hot new stuff. This is until they change it. This is still right here. You see it right here, right here. There's to the target, right? This is one of the most. I mean, it's an algo you can't ignore, right? You simply can't ignore it, right? I guarantee you people are buying into that, right? They don't know that that's there. Same here. They don't know it's there, right? So they just buy right into it. So but the point being, what I'm trying to do here is I wrap up here at 30 minutes, yikes. A high volume note, low volume note, maybe not enough by itself, but add another, some price action, or even something like an EMA. Add something else into it. As we look here, as we come up here, we get the overlap here. We've got a 50 and a golden zone here at VWAP. Those are the kind of things that confluence that we want to look for. It'll give you a little bit more confidence to pull the trigger, because what's happening, right? Market's screaming higher. Oh, geez, man, you can't sell that. Can't. You sure? Again, what are we coming into, right? Some high volume from prior days. So look what that's pulling over, right? So here's the high volume over here, right? If I pull that over, that's what we're bumping into here. Right, and you didn't miss this one. We're coming back, into a golden zone. Literally splits the difference at that high volume from 1, 2, 3 profiles previously. We know the market found value there, and we come back to it. I think you get the idea. Okay, hopefully that'll give you some ideas to do some of your own testing. This is a very powerful combination, right? I mean, you don't need much more than this: volume profile, an EMA, and measured move. Right, you do nothing but make money, right, with a little money management discipline, right? So you're not doing anything crazy, but certainly this is a fully trade with nothing but that, all day long. Don't need any other indicators but this. All right, something to think about. Okay, all right, guys, have a good holiday session. As I'm recording this here as we're going into the new year, we'll be back after the holidays, and we'll have some more educational content and updates on anything new that we have going. Okay, have a good weekend.